In this video, I want to show you the best way to trade supply and demand. Now, as someone who has been a trader for 7 years and has strictly traded supply and demand for the past 3 years to be a full-time trader, I can tell you there's one specific way to trade this method that a lot of you probably don't know, and it is probably the reason why you're not making money consistently with supply and demand. And I know this works because out of over 900 students that I've mentored one-on-one using this specific supply and demand method, they have been able to become profitable in just 8 weeks. Now, specifically in this video, I don't want to go too in-depth into the basics of supply and demand. I'll leave a video in the description down below showing you a full masterclass on A to Z advanced supply demand stuff. But in this video, I want to talk specifically about the one method of how to trade it because a lot of people don't trade it this way, and I'm telling you, it is the easiest way to make money from supply demand. So let's get into it. I want to show you first off with SPY because this is going to be the easiest example. I'm going to show you some smaller time frame, higher time frame. It works on all the time frames, all stocks, all options. Literally anything, any supply demand strategy will work using this method. Now, if you're anything like me and you've been taught how to trade supply demand, it's pretty simple, right? You have your supply zones and your demand zones. For example, we have a nice little supply zone right here, demand zone down here that we're actually bouncing out of right now as I'm making this video. But you can see we had a pretty nice reaction from there. Now, typically, how I was taught, way back when, and how you're probably taught is that when price gets up to a supply zone, all you have to do is get short, put your stop over the zone, and then you target lower. And yes, this trade would have made you a lot of money if you took this exact supply demand method, and this is the standard method that most people learn. But personally, what I found is that this doesn't really work. It doesn't really have the best edge in the actual market when you're trading this way, because a lot of times, price will sometimes just go right through it, and then you don't have any way to tell whether it's going to work or not before the zone actually hits, or before price actually hits the zone. And so what I like to do is wait for some sort of confirmation, right? Because obviously just waiting for price to come down to this demand zone or waiting for price to come up to the supply zone is a way that works for some people. And personally, I think waiting for a reaction, what I call a confirmation, is the best thing you can do to increase your win rate and get yourself a better risk reward. And we'll show you how. All right. So if we take a look at SPY here, this is a great 30-minute supply zone. Again, depending on how you draw your zones, you can draw on a 4-hour, 1 hour, 30-minute. I'm just going to go on a 30-minute here. And again, this is a good supply zone because of the speed, right? Everybody talks about supply demand, support resistance. They're completely different topics. The reason why this is a good zone is because of the speed. You can see how fast we had a gap down. So gaps always provide very fast speed because it technically happens instantly on the chart. And we end up dumping all the way down here to like 603. All right. So pretty solid fast move. So when price comes back up to the supply zone, we can expect price to eventually dump going off of it, right? Now, as price goes up into the supply zone, what I like to do is call a smaller time frame confirmation reversal look, all right? And basically what that means is, let's say I'm looking at a 30-minute zone. So you can see right here, I'm looking at a 30-minute chart or a 30-minute zone. What I want to do once that happens is zoom into a smaller time frame. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean just like looking at this price action going to 15 or 5 or 1. Really, we want to just go down deep enough so you have a good sense of like smaller individual price action where you can see a smaller individual trend. All right, so we're on a 30-minute. Let's go ahead and go down to a 5-minute. It's probably good enough. And then boom, you can see what happens here. Now, obviously, we have our zone here, and we want to zoom in when price gets up to this zone. Now, like I said, the old way, you typically just sell right when price gets up into the zone. I don't want to trade that way, all right, because you're kind of just guessing. You're just hoping that this zone is going to work out and it's going to dump. Which obviously worked here, but most of the times it's not going to happen. Now, what I like to do is wait for confirmation, all right? Now, you can see how SPY, when we're getting up to the zone, is kind of in an uptrend, right? On the smaller time frame, on the 5-minute chart, you can see we have a higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, right? We're forming this nice little uptrend right here as price is climbing higher. Now, this is great. Obviously, like for price to get to a supply zone, it has to be in an uptrend. It has to be trending up, which makes sense. Now, what I want to do is simply, it's so easy. All you have to do is wait for price to go into a smaller time frame downtrend. You want to see price shift trend, and that's going to be your entry, right? And obviously, it's very simple in hindsight, but looking at it live time is going to be the best way to trade this. Now, later in a few minutes, I want to quickly go over like how you can get a much better risk reward because that's where the real edge comes into this. This part is only going to help you with your win rate, which is still really important, but make sure you stick around for that part, all right? So here we go, 5 minutes, uptrend, high, low, high, low, high, low. Now, quick little tip you can do. If you're like, can't really understand trend and it's hard to see these highs and lows, which I know it is for a lot of people, if you go to indicators, okay, you type in pivot points, it's all on TradingView. It's right here, pivot points, high, low. If you click that, it's going to show all the pivot points for you. If you go to the settings, you go right here, you go ahead and just like this, put a little, glow over them. Just go like yellow so it's a little bit easier to see. And you can see all your little highs and lows, all right? I may even go down to a 1 minute chart. You can see all of them right here, all right? Now, again, I'm not really going to keep these on just because I like to not have them on. But for example, you can see how well it works, right? High, low, high, low. Now, obviously, all you have to do at this point is wait for price to come up to your supply zone. So you can put an alert, price comes up to your zone, you get the alert, and then say, cool. All right, all I want to see is price start to form a downtrend. So we have our high, we have our low, we have our high, and then boom. We have our first sign of a lower low right here. All right, whenever you get that first sign of a lower low, that is your entry. So right there, boom. Right as we cross this little lower level, we have now created what I call a downtrend. We went from an uptrend, we are now in a downtrend. That's where you want to get short, right about here, all right? Now, when you do get short there, things change. Since we went from an uptrend now into a downtrend, we don't need to put our stop all the way above this supply zone, right? Because if price gets back above this high, which is the most recent high we created to basically enact this low here, right? Because think about it. The sellers that were selling up here are stronger than the buyers here, right? Because price was able to break lower than these sellers, which means price should not come back above this high. And if it does, our thesis is wrong. Our trade thesis is wrong. Our edge is gone in the market. And so there's no reason for us to be in that trade. So now what we can do because of this is essentially get a better risk reward by moving our stop right above that high. Okay? Now this is incredible because doing this method is not only going to get you a better win rate, because now that we've bounced off a supply, we have the confirmation that price is going to reverse. We have a smaller time frame change in trend. So now price is showing us that it wants to reverse at the supply zone, that sellers are strong and sellers are active in this area. Price comes back down, and we get the better risk reward because now we don't have to risk all the way up here. We only have to risk all the way at the high right here. All right. Then what we can still do at this point is target the higher time frame targets down low, right? We're using a lower time frame. Stop loss and a higher time frame target. That's how you get these crazy risk rewards and make a ton of money doing this. All right. Now I'm going to get rid of these pivot points. They're kind of annoying. But you get the idea right there. All right. Same thing as price coming out into this demand zone down here. You can do the same exact thing. All right. Now I can show you another example on BLDR. This is more of a daily chart or more of like a swing trading example, but it works the same way. All right. We just have a few examples. We have a nice demand zone here. You can see prices obviously in an uptrend. We have this, high, low, high, low, high. So what does price do? Price comes down into this demand zone right here. You can see we have a beautiful demand zone. Price has a nice consolidation, nice huge spike up. We see a lot of institutional buys here. So when price comes back down, we can expect price to bounce out of it, right? Just like that. Cool. So now that we have that in place, what do we do? Now again, in this example, maybe this isn't the best example because it would have worked either way if I just bought in at demand, put my stop below low. But I can show you millions of examples where price is just going to fall right through demand, right? I'm sure you've seen it millions of times if you're watching this video. So with that being the case, what I essentially want to do is wait for confirmation. So if I'm on the daily chart, I can zoom into like a 30-minute. That's probably good enough. And then boom, what do we see? We have this huge demand zone here. Instead of having a huge risk from getting in here, putting my stop all the way down to the low, all you have to do is simply wait for price to change trend. So price goes low, we have a high, we have a low, we have a high, we have a low, boom. We now see an uptrend form in this area. We see a higher high and a higher low, higher high, higher low. So now what can you do? Now what you can do, once you see this form right around here, wait for a pullback, you get in, put your stop right below this low or this low here, okay? And you can target all the way up at this supply, this little gap fill, whatever you want to target, right? And then boom, you have a nice 2.6R trade. And again, if you held on to this trade, you can see we never got stopped out. Boom, it would have went up even to our higher time frame supply zone all the way up here, which would have been a 4.6R trade. If I go back up to the 4-hour, or maybe even the daily chart's better, yeah, you'll be able to see we have a nice little supply zone just like that. Boom. You can see we spiked up right into it. We ended up dumping after that. So you're getting a better win rate. You're getting a much better risk reward. You don't have to sit there and risk, this massive demand zone. And you can still target higher time frame targets, which means you can minimize your risk and also maximize your gains simply by doing this method. Now, this is just like one of the tools and one of the tricks I use in my overall supply demand strategy, the one that I've taught to over 900 traders that have been able to use this successfully. And so, as I said earlier in the video, in the description, what I'm going to do is leave a video showing you a full supply demand course. All right, going over A to Z, how to find the zones, how to find high quality zones, low quality zones, how to understand trend. So I made a whole YouTube video. It's free. It's completely live in the description. Go ahead and check that out. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one.